new show open pretty much sums up what you can expect here from the On Fek Circle. I am your host, the Fekless Wonder, your Shadow General Manager. I am fighting for you, fighting the good battle against the evil Atkinisms, the Atkins diet of just stupid stuff. I'm here to fight for you. We're here every Tuesday live on the Jason the Couch YouTube channel. You can also catch us live on the Jason the Couch Facebook page. It streams live on Twitter. And if you're just too busy to watch us live, that's okay. You can also catch the On Fek Circle in the archives anywhere you find your finer podcast, just like you can find the Jason the Couch radio podcast, the show that birthed all of this nonsense. It's not Shaun and Karen's fault. Okay, I take full responsibility for what I babble about here. But the Jason the Couch radio podcast, 311 episodes. Going to keep on going. We're really psyched about the Blue Jays coverage of the playoffs coming up. We do have off-season plans too. I mean, we don't just stop when the season stops. We're going to be around year-round. Since we're talking about shows, the other member of the JasonTheCouch.com podcast family is Sunny Side of the Dome. That's hosted by Karen Suter. That comes on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can bet that Karen is excited and pumped up. She is going to Game 1 at the Rogers Center, the first home playoff game since 2016. It's going to be an amazing scene, so that is terrific. We're going to get to the meat and potatoes of the show. I just want to throw out a couple ceremonial first pitches. I want to talk about the Jason the Couch Fantasy Leagues. We started it with the baseball, and we're still a couple games in. We're not final yet, but it looks like the number one overall seed, the Rao Report, managed. There he is. Speaking of the Rao Report, I love the intro. Thank you, Christian. Shaun did a great job in that. John Doyle, our senior editor and founder, did a great job with that open. And honestly, if you've watched the show before, or as you listen to me on this show, you're going to see that the apple doesn't fall too far from the animated tree there. Okay, that sums up the spirit of the On Fek Circle. Christian Rao looks like he is going to be the inaugural champion of the Jason the Couch Fantasy Baseball League. He's already had $50 donated in his name for winning the Steve Division to ALS Canada. And as part of the JFtC versus ALS campaign, the champion will have an additional $100 donated in their names to the fight against ALS. Our football league is 4 weeks strong. Now, you wouldn't think that a baseball podcast would be delving into other sports, but, I think the fantasy league is a way for us to interact with regular listeners, people that follow the website, that read JasonTheCouch.com, all the terrific articles that are put up there. So we decided to expand out into football. One undefeated team remains, and that is Ryan Mueller's, our minor league gurus team. Tighten Your End is undefeated. There are 3 teams, including Shaun Doyle's Warren's Moon team at 3-1. My team, the Pittsburgh Power, kind of got screwed. We missed by about 4.5 points winning it, and we had a touchdown called back that really would have put me over the top. But I'm not bitter. I'm not whining. I'm 2-2. Season's still young. Of course, I said that with the baseball league, and I lost 14 weeks in a row. So maybe I should be a little bit more nervous. Our hockey draft, the first hockey league, is going to kick off on Sunday. So we're going to miss the first couple days of stats because the NHL starts on Friday. But we got playoff baseball and stuff to worry about. We can't be dealing with a fantasy draft, so we're going to talk about that, do that on Sunday. And we even have a basketball league. So if you have an interest in fantasy sports in general, or you're a big hoops fan in addition to being a Jays and a baseball fan, send me a message, Fekless Wonder at JasonTheCouch.com, or you can also send a message to info@JasonTheCouch.com. But as the commissioner of the 4 leagues. I am not only your shadow general manager fighting for you. I am the commissioner of these fantasy leagues. If you want to get a direct contact with me, ask about scoring, whatever it would be, it's Fekless Wonder at jasonthecouch.com. Another ceremonial first pitch. Amidst all the celebrating that Blue Jay fans have been doing about clinching a playoff spot, and now they have solidified the number 1 wild card spot, which means there's going to be home playoff baseball at Rogers Center. We do want to encourage you to donate and help support and help the recovery efforts for 2 hurricanes, really. Hurricane Fiona, which as residents of Atlantic Canada and Eastern Quebec know, it caused some serious damage. You can always donate, obviously, to the Canadian Red Cross, but one site that I would recommend that you think about is www.canadahelps.org. The Canadian government is going to match every dollar donated at that site through October 23rd. So if you reside in Canada, or if you have relatives in Canada that might have been affected, or just want to help, Atlantic Canada, the Maritimes, it's a beautiful part of the world. Not just Canada, not just North America. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. Let's help people bounce back and make a donation. www.canadahelps.org. Canadian government's going to match your donation. So let's make Trudeau sweat it up. Lots of big donations. Have the government match that up. And here in the States, of course, Fiona did some damage. Puerto Rico, which people don't remember is actually a U.S. territory, was completely devastated. Most of the island still does not have power or clean drinking water. The infrastructure was fragile at best after the hurricanes of the last 3, 4, 5 years. They've been hit every year pretty much. I know personally I have an old college friend who we have still not been able to make contact with. A lot of us are nervous. That's a story with a lot of people that have friends and family that live in Puerto Rico. And of course, in the United States, we saw what happened to South Florida, Southwest Florida, parts of South Carolina. If you look over my shoulder here, actually, you see the little stuffed baseball. It's got a miracle cap. That's the Fort Myers Miracle. It's a former minor league team. It was an independent team that was owned by Mike Veck, actually started that. They're going to need lots of miracles in places like Fort Myers, San Juan, Atlantic Canada. So we recommend in the States you dedicate directly to the Red Cross, which is www.redcross.org/donate/disaster relief. That way your dollars can get to all of the trouble spots right now. And again, most resources are going directly to the areas affected directly by the hurricanes. Hurricane season's not over. There are tornadoes, all kind of things happen. So the redcross.org/donate/disaster relief. Okay, time for some Fekless Wonders. And I wonder if the Blue Jays are under consideration for a primetime slot, either Friday, Saturday, or if needed, on Sunday. And let me say, first off, I understand why Blue Jay fans and Canadian sports fans in general feel slighted or feel there's a conspiracy against them. I understand there's lots of reason for it, but I would not dismiss out of hand the Blue Jays getting the primetime slot. Now, the Mets collapsing and sliding to the first wild card spot in the National League does not help matters probably for the Friday game. And I've seen lots of different schedules, but our own Karen Suter, host Sunny Side of the Dome Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern time, came across a tweet, and I have been able to verify it through both the ESPN websites and the ABC websites, that on Friday and Sunday, there'll be a game at 1 o'clock on ESPN, 2 o'clock on ABC. I'm shocked they're going to have to bump The View throughout the United States. I think there's going to be all kind of outraged housewives and people that don't have anything better to do with their life. They have to listen to The View. But that game, that'll get bumped for the 2 o'clock game on ABC. Then there'll be a 4 o'clock game on ESPN and an 8 o'clock game on ESPN. That is on Sunday and Friday. On Saturday, competing against college football, which is going to make it really interesting about how they go on there. But it looks like they're going to have a noon game on ESPN2. They're going to have a 4 o'clock game on ESPN. They're going to have a 7:30 game on ESPN, and then they're going to have an 8 o'clock game on ESPN2. I really think, and I'm hoping that really the Friday primetime game, the 8 o'clock game on ESPN, I'm assuming Rogers is going to pick up the feed, and you'll be able to pick it up other places, around the globe if you're a Blue Jays fan tuning in from the UK or wherever you might be. I really believe that the Blue Jays have a really good shot at that primetime game on Friday. It's probably going to go to the Mets because you've got again, it's the largest TV market in North America. You can understand why the Mets might get the nod from the networks. I don't think you're going to see the Blue Jays on ABC at 2 o'clock or the 1 o'clock game on ESPN. The Blue Jays would probably get the 4 o'clock game since they're going to be probably playing the Seattle Mariners. I mean, that still hasn't been finalized yet, but they're going to be hosting the Mariners, who have to play on Thursday, by the way. They had a 4-game series scheduled, so they're going to have to play on Thursday, then get on a plane and fly into Toronto. So they're going to be some tired little puppies there flying in to take on the Blue Jays. But why not the Blue Jays? The Blue Jays are probably the most talked about team throughout the season, including the offseason, on U.S. media outlets, among fans. They're one of the feel-good stories of the year. As frustrated as I have been, and many of us have been, about not winning and not really being competitive for an AL East title this year, everyone's asks about the Blue Jays. I'm forever getting email or direct messages on social media. Hey, what about the Jays and what about this? From friends and fellow IBWAA writers, fellow podcasters, all want to know about the Blue Jays. There is a strong interest there. You've got star power in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Bo Bichette, and Alek Manoah. Alek Manoah very well may have sealed the Blue Jays getting the primetime game on Friday for what he did at the All-Star game. Everybody was loving him some Alek Manoah. And the Blue Jays are a fun team. They are the underdogs, if you will, because they're in the division with the Yankees. They've had to fight all season long through injuries, through a managerial change, through a dopey, ineffective general manager, just kind of like randomly picking names out of a hat to decide who's going to be on the roster at any given time. The Blue Jays are a great story. So at the very least, if they're not getting the primetime game on Friday, they are going to get the primetime game on Saturday. So fear not. Now, again, I mean, network executives, you don't know. I know behind the scenes at Jason McCouch, there was a lot of cynicism about whether the Blue Jays were going to get a primetime game or an evening game. Were they going to get, the less desirable afternoon game? Now, on a Saturday, it's not as much. So potentially you could see the Blue Jays getting an afternoon game on Saturday, because most of the U.S. markets are going to be focused on college football. And in order to get any kind of ratings, MLB, ESPN may look to have a major market team like the Mets in that primetime slot. But there's actually 2 primetime games for Saturday. There's a 7:30 game and an 8 o'clock game. The Jays are going to be primetime on Saturday for sure. And I really do think they're going to get that primetime slot on Friday. If I'm wrong, okay, then all the choruses coming down from, above the 49th parallel. Oh, they disrespect the Jays, and we're the only team in Canada. Nobody really cares about us. Every team is going to complain. I mean, the Cleveland Guardians won their division, and I guarantee you they're going to be the 1 o'clock game. As great a story as the Guardians have been, and on the podcast last night's Jason McCown's radio podcast, I said the Guardians are going to go to the World Series. I really believe that because they play playoff baseball year in, year out. As good as the Astros are, I think the Guardians have what it takes to get themselves to the World Series. But in this wild card round, I guarantee you they're going to be playing, because really they're going to probably be playing Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, people don't go to the games live. They certainly don't watch them on TV, not in the numbers that you would even in a Cleveland, or a Seattle or a Toronto. So they're going to get one of the afternoon games. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they get the 2 o'clock ABC game, which is potentially not going to reach as many households, even though it's an over-the-air game. You don't need to have cable. You don't need to have a streaming service to get it. I think Cleveland's going to kind of get screwed as far as exposure here in the wild card round. But let's think positive, Blue Jay fans. I really do think that it's going to be the Blue Jays in the primetime game, certainly on Saturday. But I think they just might edge the Mets, and they might get that primetime game. The other Fekless Wonder I have for you is, why is there such an uproar about teams not pitching to Aaron Judge? Now, I'm not talking about Yankee fans, okay, because we know Yankee fans are going to whine about anything that doesn't glorify their team and doesn't go in their favor. Anything that doesn't go in their favor, Yankee fans are going to whine about. We know that. Okay, we've been in the same division with them since 1977. We understand. We understand how it works. And you expect that homer bias because you've got a Yankee going after a cherished Yankee record, which, for better or worse, folks, this is not the home run record. Okay. Until Major League Baseball makes a ruling, Barry Bonds is the single season home run record holder. For better or worse, he hit more homers than anybody else did in the season. McGwire hit more than 61. Sammy Sosa did it several times. Okay, so this isn't the home run record. It's an interesting story because you've got Roger Maris playing for the Yankees in 61 that broke the cherished Babes record. And of course, they had to put an asterisk next to it because, God forbid, Babe Ruth is not kept in the record books. And you had Yankee fans booing Roger Maris throughout the season. The guy that was the AL MVP in 1960 for the Yankees. Because not only was he going to catch Ruth, their beloved Mickey Mantle wasn't going to break the record. So put that all aside here. But all of the outrage about people not grooving pitches in for Aaron Judge to get that home run, it's stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Every team, every game, every season goes on that field, and after that anthem is finished, their goal is to win that game. that day, that night. So it doesn't matter if someone is chasing a record. I mean, when Albert Pujols was, trying to get to 700 home runs, people weren't grooving the ball into him. But Aaron Judge is the guy in the Yankee lineup, the guy that can beat you multiple ways at the plate. So they're not just trying to prevent giving up a home run. They're trying to prevent him getting on base or him hitting a single or a double in the gap or down the lines that's going to score a run, or getting himself in scoring position to score a run. Okay, that's how baseball teams are approaching it. And you're saying, well, why are we talking about Aaron Judge on a Blue Jays podcast? The Blue Jays were nobody said anything bad about how the Blue Jays were pitching Aaron Judge, because it's like, well, the Blue Jays had something they were playing for. They were trying to get the first wild card spot. They were trying to clinch a playoff spot. Of course, they couldn't let Aaron Judge beat them. Does that mean the Orioles should have just then given in and just given Aaron Judge carte blanche, grooving those balls over the center of the plate so he can break that cherished 61 home run record? No. Just like the Rangers shouldn't be getting any grief either. And the Rangers, are a bad baseball team this year, but they go out every day. They've got a lot of offensive talent. They want to win every game. They just don't have the talent to win more than they lose at this particular stage. With the pitching coming up in their system, maybe adding some pitching in free agency, the Rangers are going to be legitimate contenders in the AL West, probably within the next year or two. But right now, they're not. It does not mean they should just lay down and die so that Aaron Judge can hit the home run. It's baseball strategy, people. And it's not just Yankee fans that are complaining about it. Almost every media outlet is screaming. All the pundits are screaming, why are they throwing sliders on a 3-2 count? They know he's not going to chase it. Well, because they don't want to groove it in, because he will hit it out of the park. Or he will drill it for a single or a double, getting on base so somebody else can drive him in the lineup. Okay, it's basic baseball strategy. It doesn't matter that there's a record on the line. Okay, that is all a media buildup. There is not a player that's going out there saying, I hope I'm not the guy that goes in the record book for giving up the 62nd home run, or the 61st home run, or the 60th home run, or whatever home run it is. People weren't worried about the home runs that Judge was hitting. I mean, nobody's going out and calling Jose Barrios a bum because he gave up a home run to Judge, in early April. They're not going back that far and criticizing pitchers. Don't criticize him now for trying to get him out now. Okay. Time for the Shadow GM report. I spent too much time yelling at media people and this offends some of you out there that think I'm wrong on this. You are clueless. Your baseball fandom should be called into question because you think pitching not around Judge. Okay, intentional walks, okay, that's kind of, the Pirates did that, and that was kind of iffy. But they're pitching to him, but they're not letting him beat them. And if you think that's wrong, then you need to follow a different sport. Okay, follow pickleball or American cornhole or whatever it is that you want to follow, because you really have no idea about what it means to win a baseball game and to build a winning culture. The Shadow GM report is going to be short and sweet. Last night we talked about who we thought would be on the Blue Jays playoff roster. And I think we were all in agreement on the bullpen. The rotation, there was some discussion about, do you go with Jose Barrios in Game 3 and hold Ross Stripling back, or be able to use Ross Stripling in Game 1 or 2 in relief, but then still have him there so he can open up the ALDS. I think it's split among a lot of baseball media outlets about whether it should be Stripling or Barrios. Now, of course, Gossman's finger, the finger that he cut, might change that whole conversation. But the way it's looking, he's going to be able to come out and pitch game 2. But the ultimate decision cannot rest with my colleague that sits in the general manager's seat right now in Toronto. Ross Atkins is not the guy in game that needs to look up and down his bench or run through in his mind and talking to his bench coach, Candy Handel, and Pete Walker, his pitching coach. John Schneider has to be the ultimate final word on the playoff roster. Ross Atkins built this team. Sorry. He constructed this team as he felt that, as he saw it. But now going into the playoffs, all of these reports and all of this analytic stuff, it's important. John Schneider can look at it. But ultimately, he has to decide what weapons to have starting games in the bullpen in various roles. Who's going to start? Who's going to come off the bench to pinch hit? Who's going to pinch run? This needs to be John Schneider's decision. He has earned that right. He has completely changed the culture of the Toronto Blue Jays in a little over half a season. I'll be honest, if Montoyo remained as manager, I might have been starting to come out after the All-Star break and saying, you know what, I don't know that the Jays are going to make it. Once you got John Schneider in that manager's seat and you saw how he held players accountable every game, not just when it was convenient or when it was blatantly obvious that a player was dogging it, every game, every inning, every play. John Schneider has held his players accountable. He told them he was going to do that. He kept to that. He was consistent. His in-game strategy, nothing is perfect. Nothing works all of the time. But I would venture to say that his percentage of making pitching changes and lineup decisions and pinch hitting decisions, that winning percentage that he did in game was even higher than the Blue Jays' ultimate winning percentage. John Schneider needs to be the guy that decides who is on the wild card roster, who is on the ALDS roster. And if they get that far, the ALCS, and talk about miracles, getting to the World Series. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to get there. Atkins has made some brutal roster decisions. Not only forget about not making certain kind of trades when they needed them earlier in the year or at the deadline. The people that he has chosen to bring up and pitch on a regular basis, and I'm talking to you, Julian Merriweather, and I'm talking to you, Casey Lawrence, and leaving effective guys in the minors, how he mishandled the Matt White situation, that was an Atkins decision. Walker worked with whatever was going on. That was a Ross Atkins decision. And that very well could have cost the Blue Jays the top wild card spot. I mean, thankfully, the Mariners have struggled down the stretch, and Tampa Bay has sputtered a bit down the stretch. This needs to be taken out of the general manager's hand. And if I'm the shadow GM now, if I was the general manager of the Blue Jays, I would be going to my manager and saying, this is what I think. You're making the ultimate decision. You're my field manager. You're going to make the decision as who's going to be on the playoff roster, not me. And that should happen now. But of course, it's not going to be because Ross Atkins thinks he is the smartest guy. I don't want to go in baseball history, but certainly he's the smartest guy that's ever sat in that GM seat in Toronto, and he is not. You only need to look at the NL East champs and defending World Series champs to see a more recent, much smarter, much more effective general manager in Alex Anthopoulos. But more about Ross Atkins in the offseason. For right now, let's rally together. Go Jays, a home playoff series. Couldn't write a better script. Blue Jay fans have been long suffering. They had to deal with their team not being able to play at home. So, way to go. Let's go Jays. Make sure you tune in to Karen's show, Sunny Side of the Dome, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. Join us on the podcast Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time as we recap the wild card round. I am the Fekless Wonders, Steve Feck, your Shadow General Manager. I'll talk to you again next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time.